Well, you know what I found funniest about the Canelo signing was that Oscar, being the promoter that he is, used that opportunity to kind of take a swipe at Mayweather. Saying, "Oh, look who's the richest man in boxing now."
Funny. Well, he would be wrong. No, I'm just kidding. You know why I say that? Because it's funny because they got into that exchange on Twitter or whatever where they were going back and forth. Did you see any of that?
I saw some with Ellerby and De La Hoya, but not with Mayweather.
Ellerby and De La Hoya got into it, and Mayweather and De La Hoya got into it, and Mayweather started posting the old photos of De La Hoya.
Oh, and the fishnets.
Yeah, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I hate to see that, man. Oscar was such a big figure.
Yeah, so Mayweather was reposting that and telling people to caption it, and they were going back and forth. But ultimately, what Mayweather said was that he said that his Canelo fight was easier than McGregor. And then he said that he makes $300 million in one fight, and it takes a 5-year, 11-fight contract in order for Canelo to make $365 million.
Whatever.
Which is pretty close to accurate.
Yeah.
If Mayweather came out of retirement to fight, or what was it? They were talking about him fighting Khabib.
But
if he fought Khabib, he would make $300 million.
But who wants to watch that? You know who's going to watch that? Uninformed MMA fans who think like he's got a shot.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the point. The point is that he's still the money man.
It boggles the mind
in the
how
sense that
and
he'll
why.
still make $300 million.
But how and why? Do people want to pay, and how does he make that much money? He's not that interesting to me, and his fights were never,
exciting.
Never. I mean, some were exciting, yeah, because.
But that was more at the 135, like at the lower weight classes.
Yeah, but you look at his last fight against Berto. Did anybody give a crap about that? Nobody.
It still did well though. That's what I mean. It still made him a bunch of money.
Yeah, but how?
I firmly believe.
Where's that money come from?
I believe it comes from people who are paying to see him lose just as much as they're paying to see him win.
Oh man.
Meaning, I actually think that like when you look at Muhammad Ali, who I guess fashioned some of this from like the Gorgeous George, that Ric Flair type personality. You know what I mean? Your Mayweathers, they're actually sort of perceived as the bad guy, and whether someone pays to watch you lose or pays to watch you win, they still pay to watch you. So it's like you're actually drawing twice as many people because just as many people tune in to watch you get knocked out.
Yeah, but I don't think Muhammad was ever as. I know he was a controversial figure in some way because he opposed.
In many ways, yeah.
Yeah, he opposed.
He was an activist.
Yeah, he was an activist. He opposed the war. He had his views on kind of social justice.
Yeah.
But I think he was more beloved than Mayweather, and when he was active.
Perhaps, but I mean, still, there was some his activism, his religion.
Yeah, it definitely turned a lot.
Were
of people
very
off.
unpopular opinions at the time.
Yeah,
right. So,
but I don't know. I mean, I definitely appreciate Mayweather's skill set. I mean, he's a slippery little bugger in there. It's hard to catch him. His defense is amazing, but he doesn't. For me, he didn't really force the fight where he's like, hey, I'm going to knock this guy out. He didn't really, because he didn't have to. He relied on his defense, his counterpunching, and his movement in the ring. And, nobody ever trapped him enough where he was forced to really fight out of it. But even so, he lacked some aggression, I think. So that's one reason. But
that's not entirely his fault, though.
No, that's what I said.
Like your opponent has to have
exactly.
a good game plan.
It was never, he didn't have to. It wasn't forced out of him,
Yeah.
So that's, you could say what you want about that, but just his whole attitude. I mean, for him to call out Oscar, I mean, he's retired, dude. Like, stay retired. Like, boxing's way better without you. Stay retired, and the only fights he's talking about, which are to me, it's not that they do damage to boxing, but they're pointless fights. He wants to fight Pacquiao, and all he talks about is he's gonna make 10 figures. Okay, what does that have to do with you being challenged in the ring? What does that have to do with Manny Pacquiao posing a threat to actually beating you? Nothing, Or I'm gonna fight Khabib, dude. Let Khabib just beat McGregor. Like, let him enjoy that. And then what's dude, he's not a professional boxer, and now you're gonna be 52-0 and you're greatest. Man, shut the hell up, dude.
Yeah, I mean the truth is,
Mayweather.
in many ways, not just with Floyd, but in many ways, business impacts competition negatively for fans, perhaps positively for fighters. Like, so for instance, if Khabib can go and make hundreds of millions of dollars, and so can Mayweather, right? Then okay, good for them, right? Like I don't blame Khabib, for instance, for saying, hey, I want to go take this fight and make a couple $100 million.
Oh, for sure.
So good for them. But the business, a lot, especially recently, and I'm sure you can find historical examples of it, but the business side impacts the competitiveness from a fan standpoint. It's the reason why fights like Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder take a long time. It's the reason why you don't get Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence Jr.
Yeah.
It's the reason why a lot of these things come out. The business of boxing isn't always great for fans, but it could be great for fighters. Like the PBC fighters, who all make plenty of money.
Yeah.
It's good for them. They're getting paid a lot by Al Heyman, right? Only they don't fight each other. All the welterweights, for instance, they don't fight each other, so we don't get to see it. But they're being very successful right now. So it's kind of like the business aspect of it can be disappointing. Yeah,
some of those big money fights are very anticlimactic, and it's the fights leading up to those. It's kind of like the elimination bouts to get to that title fight or to that big money fight. Sometimes those are the most exciting fights, you know. But yeah, back on Mayweather, and good for Canelo. I thought it was interesting that De La Hoya brought it up, and then they started talking. It seems like he's trying to draw Mayweather into a rematch.
Canelo rematch on DAZN.
And I could totally see that happening. And shit, they're both gonna make a lot of money. And I
don't see it.
I think it will happen. You know, because you're saying business dictates a lot of it. I mean, think what bigger fight would there be than Canelo versus Mayweather out of retirement?
Yeah, I can't say that there would be a bigger one.
Yeah. And Mayweather's not going to turn down a couple $100 million for that. No way.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, at this point, but there's so many challenges. What weight would it take place at? The fact that Mayweather is loyal to Al Heyman and Showtime, and now
like at 55, I think 54.
At 54.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think at this point he's just gone up to 168, so it's kind of